Hello and welcome to today's Sport for Business Daily. I'm really pleased we're joined by one of our leading sponsors, Sorcha, Fennell, Sheehan from Bord Gáis Energy. We've just been through another wonderful weekend of hurling activity and another wonderful season so far of wonderful activation. You're very welcome to Sport for Business, Sorcha.
Thanks for having me, Rob. Delighted to be here.
Tell me something. I'm always intrigued, and I find Bord Gáis Energy's activation always pretty cool. I can remember you dressing up a cafe on the canal with a giant slitter bursting through the roof. This year, you've gone down the route of humour as well with Gaga Box. And last week, we published a story about you having the Christmas jumpers for the hurling counties as well that have made it through to the final. How has it been this year with those activations? Have they worked for you well?
I think, we do try to be a little bit tongue-in-cheek when it comes to our AG activation. At the end of the day, we're a utility company, so it's quite a serious business, the business of gas and electricity. So we use the GEA, I suppose, to have a little bit of fun with it and to reach a different audience than maybe we're talking to all of the time with our commodity product. I think this year, a lot of our activation, as you say, would kind of be experiential. It would be the cafe, it would be our photo booth on match day. And all of that was kind of washed away with COVID. So we had to refocus and realign. And I suppose it was really August before we were certain that, or maybe that the championship was going to go ahead and we could actually start to replan. So it's been intense, it's been fast paced, but it's been really, really exciting. And I think the championship itself has served up a wealth of really competitive games, and the quality of the games has heightened the quality of our activation because the reactions from the fans and Gaga Box are obviously driven by the games themselves. So I think we've been really fortunate with that. And it's also pushed us a little bit outside our comfort zone, I suppose, and made us have to work a little bit harder and think a little bit differently, which I think has been no harm. So far, so good. Still one more big game to go. So we'll see how we go.
I think it has worked particularly well. I love the Cork Mammy who let the little expletive slip out in, I think that was episode 2 maybe. But real, heart and soul stuff. The reactions that we're seeing are the reactions that we would have ourselves, if not quite in the same dressed rooms as they have. That must have been entertaining. Did you participate much in that whole process of getting them set up, or was that an agency role in the climate in which we're living in at the moment?
So I think I watched about 8 hours of interviews with families. So we have an agency, so we work with Bold on this. And they did a lot of the kind of pre-casting, and I would look at a short list then. But I suppose it's very hard to garner from a 30-minute phone call what you're going to get when you're watching a match. So I think they did a fantastic job in terms of casting our families, and we did add a little bit of colour. I suppose we sent every family down a kind of pimp your living room set with flags and jerseys and boas just to add that bit of colour. But everything they're wearing, all the face paint, that's all them. Like, these people really are, hurling to the core, die-hard hurling fans. And I think that comes through just how passionate they are about it, I think. So I think hopefully it's enjoyable and entertaining for others to watch.
Oh, it has been indeed. And you previewed a new TV advertisement over the weekend as well. We'll finish off this interview and we'll play that out because again, it's it's one that really does sort of get to the heart of what it's like to be a GAA fan. The business of sponsorship and trying to engage with your customer base through activation, through engagement, through content. You've always sort of focused on experience as part of that, as you mentioned, the ability to actually sort of bring people to games and bring people into a physical environment has been taken away from you this year. Yeah. Has that impacted, do you think, on the effect of what your sponsorship is going to have?
I think so, because I think it's interesting, you read a lot about measuring sponsorship, and I always think it's interesting how others interpret how successful your sponsorship has been, because really at the end of the day, it's only us who know what exactly it is that we're measuring. And for us, customer retention, I don't think it's a secret, is a big part of what we do with sponsorship. And as you say, engaging with customers and being able to create unique experiences for them, to have that chance to interact with them, whether it's at a training camp for their child with an all-star player, or whether it is over a cup of tea and a sandwich at half-time at a game. That has all been taken away. We have felt the effect of that. And even I personally think that, you know, I, over the last kind of 7 years, I've got to know some of the customers that come to our games because they're the same customers. And you're kind of going, I wonder what they're doing for championship, because you don't have that interaction anymore. And that's just a very small cohort. And I think if you magnify that by the amount of people that we actually do interact with year to year, I have no doubt that when we conclude our research in January, we'll see that there has been, I'm not going to say a negative effect, but probably a lost opportunity, I suppose, with some of our customer base. But then on the flip side of that, we have focused a lot more on generating awareness and engagement on a digital platform. So that might balance itself out. I don't know. We won't know until we see the results, I suppose. But from the very foundation of why we are in sponsorship, one huge part of our, I suppose, business case is proving quite difficult to actually fulfill at the moment. And that's not from a lack of innovation or trying or anything like that. It's just we are limited by what is possible and what we can actually give customers and the experiences that we can give them. And, you know, we all know that we can't go to games and that we can't gather 500 people in a pitch for a training session. So we have to park it for now, but we will be back. We will be doing that again next year, hopefully, fingers crossed.
Yeah, nobody wrote the playbook about what we would be able to do in a year like this, because of course this time last year we had no idea that it was going to be a year like this. But you've done a great job on it. The final now in December, we don't know yet. It's possible that we might have a little bit more freedom to actually sort of to bring some people to the stadium, albeit in very small numbers. Would it be something that you'd like to do as a sponsor, to have some involvement in actually getting back out there? Or do you think, is it a little bit early yet, that from a business point of view, it's worked so far and everybody has stayed safe, and maybe that's what you're going to continue with through to December 1st, second weekend in December?
I think for me right now, and I think speaking personally, I wouldn't feel, if we're saying that we can only have 6 people from 3 households coming around for Christmas, I don't know that I want to risk bringing people together at a game. I would love to go to a game. I would love to be able to bring customers to the game, and even some of the people that have participated in Gaga Box, just to reward them for their time, because I think, they've entertained us, and I'd love to be able to repay that by bringing them to something like once in a lifetime experience, like an All-Ireland final during COVID in December in Croke Park. However, if that was to be at the cost of something else, I don't think I would be comfortable with that, if that makes sense. Yes. Yeah, I just think that, look, we've gotten this far doing it the way we're doing it. I think let's just draw a line in the sand under 2020 championship and look forward to bigger and better things in 2021 when it comes to at the games, I think, for me.
Absolutely, we will do that. It's been a great championship this year. It's been a great championship over the period of time in which Bord Gáis Energy has been involved, and there will be plenty more years as well. But you won't be involved in next year's, because as you told me before we came on air, you're heading off to Washington, DC in the early new year. So the very best of luck with that. Congratulations on everything you've achieved here, and there's always going to be a door open for when you come back, if you can tear yourself away from the United States Capitol. But the very best of luck with that, and for the moment anyway, with one game still to go in the championship, thanks very much for everything you've done. Thanks for taking the time with us today, Sorcha Fennell Sheehan from Bord Gáis Energy.
No, and thank you, Rob, very much for having me here today. And I suppose a thank you to the wider sport and business community. I suppose it's been a great community to be a part of for the last few years. And I will miss it, and I will be keeping an eye on what's happening, albeit from the other side of the Atlantic.